Joining me now, Democratic Senator Chris Coons, fresh off his questioning of Judge Kavanaugh, and he tells us that there's another couple of hours to go in there tonight. Senator, thank you very much for stepping out and making some time for us.
Thank you, Martha. It's always good to be on with you.
Good. It's great to have you, as always. So you heard the president there. He says that Democrats are grasping at straws at this point. Is he right?
Well, I disagree. I asked, as you know, a whole series of questions of Judge Kavanaugh about opinions that he's written, speeches he's given, law review articles he's authored that show, I think, a disconcerting tendency to embrace a very strong view of presidential power. And I'm looking forward to another round of questioning with Judge Kavanaugh tomorrow, where we'll follow up on the exchange we had today.
Well, one of the significant exchanges about that, it was when he explained that he was in favor of the Nixon versus the United States decision, which subpoenaed President Nixon's tapes and forced him to turn them over. So you were not satisfied that that sort of gave you at least some indication of how he would judge something in a similar case?
That's one of the things we'll be talking about tomorrow. The specific case we focused on today was Morrison v. Olson, which is a 30-year-old case. It's good settled law. And just earlier this year, in Judge Kavanaugh's own circuit, the D.C. Circuit, the majority in a decision said it is good and settled law, and that his dissent flew in the face of Morrison. As you may have seen, we had a very vigorous back and forth. Look, Judge Kavanaugh is very smart and very well grounded in his view of the law. I just think we have a different view about whether or not a president should be able to fire a special prosecutor at will. And I think it's something where we have a real difference of opinion. And I hope the American people will pay attention to this, because I believe it's an important issue.
It did feel as though, some of the enthusiasm that we saw in the move to try to suspend these hearings kind of weakened a little bit today in terms of its passion and enthusiasm. So I guess, one of the questions is, when you look around and you look at some of your colleagues, some of your Democratic colleagues on the committee who've already said that they were no's. In fact, some of them, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, they were no's within an hour of this nominee being named. So what's the point becomes a question here if questioning isn't going to have give them any more discernment on their decision.
Well, Martha, I think the point here is that Judge Kavanaugh is before us as a nominee for a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. And whoever succeeds Justice Kennedy will have a role in making historic decisions that will have an impact on a whole range of fundamental rights and issues over decades. So there are at least a dozen members of the Senate, both Republican and Democrat, who haven't yet decided, who haven't yet made public what they intend to do. And that's the point of a confirmation hearing. Judge Kavanaugh has shown a remarkable stamina today, as you said in your opening, that he's gone through so many rounds of vigorous questioning. I certainly respect the fact that he gave as good as he took with me in terms of the back and forth. I'm going to watch our exchange tonight and prepare for tomorrow. Why do I think this is important? Because I think it's important for the American people to know what sorts of values and ideas, what sort of record Judge Kavanaugh would bring to his service on the court. And I do think there are a number of members of the of the Senate, both Republican and Democrat, who have not yet made up their mind on this nomination.
Yeah. Well, you raise a great point, and that's why this whole process happens. And, it is something I think that people who make their decision right out of the gate should probably consider in terms of whether or not they want to do that next time around. Do you think that the process was hamstrung by Harry Reid when he decided to allow the nuclear option for lower court judges, making it 51 in terms of the vote that needed to happen to put them into office, and that ended up leading to where we are today? Was that a mistake?
Look, Martha, there's been a 30-year, almost 40-year process whereby the confirmation, first for Supreme Court justices, then for circuit judges, and then district court judges, became more and more contentious, more partisan, more divided. Obviously, I think it was regrettable that the Republican majority changed that rule on the Supreme Court filibuster. And I think that we should not have gotten to a place where we felt compelled to do that when Harry Reid was the Democratic majority leader because of years of obstruction of President Obama's nominees. But if you listen to the old bulls of this committee who've been on opposite sides for decades, there's a lot of history even before that. I think we would all be better served, Martha, if we went back to the way this was a number of years ago, where any nominee had to get 60 votes. That would force any future president of either party to nominate folks who are readily confirmable and more centrist.
Yeah. Do you think that that would lead to the kind of votes that we used to see, where people got 80, 90, even if the person was from the other party? You do?
I do. I'm hopeful. Let me put it this way. When Justice Scalia passed away, I called the White House and said to President Obama's White House counsel, please have him nominate someone who's a centrist, who's confirmable, who is a seasoned senior jurist. And he nominated Chief Judge of the D.C. Circuit, Merrick Garland, who I really think should have been that confirmable centrist. It's unfortunate. It's really tragic that he never got a hearing, never got a vote. And I think had that happened, we'd be in a very different place today.
Still a lot of bad feelings where that was concerned. Senator, thank you very much. Senator Coons, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Martha.
You bet. So.